The Steducentre Grade 9 2013 A&A Exam Review Maths Part 3. 5.1. Write down the next two terms in the number sequence 7, 11, 15. 5.2. Write down the general term Tn of the above number sequence. Tn is equal to what? Calculate the value of the 50th term. Here's an example. Find the nth term of the sequence 4, 7, 10, 13, 16. You firstly need to find the common difference. D is equal to T2 minus T1, which is equal to 7 minus 4, which is 3. We compare the terms in the sequence to the multiples of 3. We need to consider the positions, n, and then the multiples of 3. So we've got 3n, and we need to find what my term will be. So, if I had 1 times 3, it will give me 3. 1 times my difference is 3. What more do I need to do in order to get to my answer? Well, I will add 1 to get to 4. If I look at the second position, if I multiply that by 3, I end up with 6. If I add 1, I end up with 7. So now I can see what my formula is. It is 3n plus 1. You could also use rules for linear sequences. If the rule for a linear sequence is known, then the values of the term or the term number can be found algebraically. For example, the rule for a linear sequence that is t is equal to 4n minus 2. If it says find the 7th term in the sequence, t is equal to 4 times 7 minus 2, which is 26. Which term has the value of 74? Well, that becomes your answer. 74 is equal to 4n minus 2, and you solve for n, which is 19. 5.1, the next two numbers in the sequence are 19 and 23. 5.2, your Tn formula is equal to 4n plus 3. And 5.3, the value of the 50th term is equal to 203. Question 6.1. How long will it take to travel 432 kilometers at an average speed of 96 kilometers per hour? It is important to know your distance, speed, and time formulas. Distance is equal to speed times time. Time is equal to distance divided by speed, and speed is equal to distance divided by time. Here we have a time formula. So it will be distance divided by speed. So 432 kilometers divided by 96 kilometers per hour, which will give you 4.5 hours. Question 6.2. Calculate the simple interest on 3,500 invested at 6% per annum for 3 years. Whenever we look at interest, we either have simple interest, which is equal to A, which is equal to P, brackets, 1 plus I, close brackets, to the power n. Or you have compound interest, which is interest that is calculated on a yearly basis. A is equal to P, open brackets, 1 plus R divided by 100, close brackets, to the power n. If we use A is equal to P, open brackets, 1 plus n, I, you will end up with A is equal to 3,500 times 1 plus 3 times 0.06. So that will give you 3,500 times 1.18, which will give you 4,130. They asked you to calculate the interest, so you will subtract the principal amount from the 4,130, which will give you 630 Rand. Alternatively, you could just do the simple interest calculation, which is principal times time times rate. So 3,500 times 3 times 6 divided by 100, which is equal to 630. Calculate how much money you will owe the bank after 3 years if you borrow 7,500 from the bank at 13% per annum compound interest. If you look at A is equal to P in brackets 1 plus I to the n, you will end up with 7,500 times 1 plus 0.13 to the power 3, which will give you 7,500 times 1 0.13 to the power 3, which will give you 10,821 Rand 73. Question 7.1.1. Write down the coordinates of points A, B, and C in the table below. You are given a graph to answer questions on. It has an X and a Y axis. We have the letters A, B, and C on a linear line on the graph. For A, we can see that the X coordinate is 0 and the Y coordinate is -2. For B, we can see that the X coordinate is 2 and the Y coordinate is 0. And from C, we can see that the X coordinate is 4 and the Y coordinate is 2. 7.1.2. You are required to use the table in 7.1.1 or any other method to determine the equation of the line ABC. 7.1.2, y is equal to x minus 2. How did we identify that? We needed to remember what the equation of a straight line is. It is equal to y is equal to mx plus c, where m is the gradient and c is the intercept on the y-axis. We already know that the intercept on the y-axis is -2. We now need to determine the gradient. How do you determine the gradient? You will use the formula m is equal to y2 minus 1 divided by x2 minus x1, which gives us x. You then require to use the grid to answer the questions that follow. 7.2.1, you are to draw the graphs defined by y is equal to -2x plus 4 and x is equal to 1 on the given axis. You also require to label each graph and clearly mark the points where the lines cut the x and y axis. It is very important to know the equation of a line. Y is equal to mx plus c. We can see from the graph that x is equal to 1 is a straight line that cuts the x-axis. We can see that y is equal to -2x plus 4, that the gradient is -2 and it cuts the y-axis at 4. Question 7.2.2. Write down the coordinates of the point where the two lines cut one another. The answer is, for the x and y coordinates, 1 and 2. Thank you for watching the Steducentre, turning ordinary learners into extraordinary leaders.